It's the cry of a baby, the whisper in prayer, it's voices and laughter. It's the wind in the stillness and the spaces between. It's a spark of fire. It's our only design. It's eternally growing. It's peace, it's power, connects all to one, has no end, no beginning.
No more for life is moving ever upward. My feet are leaving the ground.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Up to a higher place. Up, far beyond this time and space. Up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher.
And there we are. Okay, well, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Springs. I'm Reverend Robert Wilson. I'm the assistant minister, and on behalf of Reverend Chiffant, who is not too well today, she calls me at 20 after 11 and said, "Guess what? Got the stomach flu. Can't make it. Can you cover?" Well, as an assistant minister, you learn very quickly. You always have your clothes ready, you have your material ready, and you just jump. So I got here half dressed to get this thing together, and I think with Tommy and the other people that have put this thing together, I think you will see that we've done a nice job, and I hope you enjoy it. Better put my glasses on so I can read. So we're here today to celebrate life that lives in each of us, to celebrate the good, and to share with one another our thoughts and feelings about our appreciation for our friend and loved one, Kathy Duguid. Here's a poem that I love reading at celebrations of life services. It's from Khalil Gibran. Life and death are one, as the river and the sea are one. For what it is to die, but to stand naked in the wind and to melt in the sun. What it is to cease breathing, but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek its God unencumbered. Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then shall you begin to climb. And when the earth has claimed your limbs, then shall you truly dance. So as we go into the celebration of life, I invite you just to take a moment to allow the presence of the Spirit, of the universe of God, whatever you would call it, into and be with us as we manifest this beautiful celebration of life for this beautiful person that we honor today. And in doing so, I just know that each and every single one of us enjoys the laughter, the tears, that celebration that we have together in the family of one. For that's what we believe in, the family of one. And that's all there it is. And if you agree with me, please join me in saying, and so it is. And I invite now Barth Norton.
Good afternoon. I'm Barth Norton. I'm on a leave of absence, but I'm a practitioner at this church. But I was a practitioner with Kathy in Palm Desert, CSL Palm Desert, which was CSL Palm Desert. And I was a member of her book study for 8 years, and we met every week. Summers, every week we didn't miss. Very, very few Fridays that we didn't spend with her. So that was our Friday night date. Tommy and Reverend Dr. Michael, wherever he is, he's back in the back. We're all Michael was there most of the time. He was doing his practitioner studies and doing his master's at the same time. And so the three of us, and then we have someone on the phone who's moved away, but Kathleen, she's on. So that's who I am. And so a practitioner is one who's dedicated to helping others and offering affirmative prayer with others and leading through being an example. And Kathy was definitely that. She's probably the most spiritual person other than my mother, who's rooted in the principles of religious science, which is Center for Spiritual Living. So our reading today comes from the Bible, a couple of readings. First from Psalms 139, verses 7 through 12. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there thy hand shall lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to thee. And from John chapter 14, verses 1 through 3 and 27. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, you may be also. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Thank you.
I'm Reverend Michael, and I would not be a reverend today if it were not for Kathy Duguid. Barth gave me a great segue, and we always look for a segue into the next section in ministry and in life. Yes, segues. He mentioned our Friday night family, and whether you are family, or you are spiritual family, or you are Friday night family, we're all one in that heart and that love and that light of consciousness. And I was cleaning out my kitchen drawer the other day, and to give you an idea of how often I clean out that kitchen drawer, I found our original class list from our Friday night family. 10 years ago, the original members. And what spoke to me, and I had to call Tommy late at night and say, Tommy, you're gonna just love this. And she did, the way we love family and the way we love Kathy. Kathy wrote up this list, and it's the list of participants, and it's from June 2012, very first class. And Kathy lists herself, Kathy Duguid, not as facilitator, not as practitioner, but as perpetrator. That was Kathy. She was here to perpetrate the goodness and the knowingness and the oneness of that love and that light and truth. And she often did it with laughter. And I've shared this, and people have laughed. We brought Kathy's laughter and her warmth and her love and her humility to life. And so Kathy had a practice. She was a practitioner. We all are practitioners, each of us. And she had a practice of keeping everyone in her presence, everyone in her mind, everyone in her prayer. And when she thought of you and she was doing her spiritual reading, she would take out an index card, like this one here. I am gifted. I have 3 of these on my bulletin board. I chose this one today. She would write the saying down. She would write her thought down. And the next time she saw you, could be a week or a month later, she'd reach into her purse, and she'd have 30 or 40 of these index cards that she'd written for people who she thought of during her readings, and give, this is for you, Michael. And so this is for us today, and this is from Kathy. And she taught me what a gift an index card with words can be. And she also shared with me that great experience of going beyond the words into the presence and the energy. And that was Kathy. And we know that energy is everywhere present, everywhere knowing, and everywhere powerful. And it's with us in every breath we breathe, in every memory we think, and in every story we tell of Kathy. So in bringing Kathy to life, and bringing her memory to life, and bringing her energy, and bringing the work that she did on this life plane, and we know she is on to other planes and doing the work just as well, just as honestly, just as lovingly. And Kathy gave me this one of those days when I can't be a minister, it's not possible. And when I was told by higher ups I couldn't be a minister, it wasn't possible. And Kathy said, "How's that possible, Michael? You're already a minister. How could you not be what you already are?" And she gave me this card. Meditate. Pray. Dwell in the secret place of the Most High, and dwell there in quietness and in peace. And you will discover that the truth of who you are and what you are seeking already abides within you. There is only one thing for which to pray, Michael: spiritual illumination. Michael, you are now, you always have been, and you always will be a minister. Love, Kathy. And so I've been given the reading on immortality, which is part of our teaching here in Science of Mind and Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Springs. We believe that life is immortal, and it's continuous, and it's ever present. And it is that when we bring to life through our stories and our memories and our readings and our teachings and our love of the universal spirit, our love of family and friends and neighbors and community, when we bring that together in a connectivity, which we're doing here today, not only the memory of our loved one lives on, but their presence is with us. Kathy was a presence of love, unconditional love and light and truth, and she anchored in that, she embodied that, she expressed that, and if you were in Kathy's presence, you had the great gift of being one with that energy. This is from Ernest Holmes on that ever-presence of life and love and light. When we came into this life, we were met by loving friends. Friends who cared for us until we were able to care for ourselves, judging the future by the past, and going from the known into the unknown. We can believe that when we enter the larger life, there will be loving hands to greet us and loving friends to care for us until we become accustomed to our new surroundings. Nature looks after everything and provides for herself at every turn of the road. We may confidently expect to meet friends on the other side, though I don't think Kathy would say there's another side, it's all one. And to know and be known when we shall meet. We'll recognize each other wherever we are, whenever we are, however we are. Death loses its sting. The grave loses its victory when we realize, when we recognize, when we embody, and when we live the eternity of our own being. The eternity of our own being. Nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She allows us to stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and the advancement of the soul. Let us learn to view eternity as continuity, a continuity of time, a forever and ever expanding, until time as we now experience it shall be no more. Realizing this eternity, this oneness, this continuity, this ever-presence of Kathy, which is here right now in this moment. We shall see in every budding spirit, we shall see in every person, we shall see in everything, in nature, in every life eternal, we shall see a budding spirit, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, and an eternal destiny. On and on and on. We are born of eternal day and the spiritual sun shall never set upon the glory of our being. For it is the coming forth of God into self-expression. Every man and woman is an incarnation of eternity, a manifestation of the infinite. No man need prepare to meet his God. He is meeting him every day in every way, and in each hour, in each minute, in each breath of every day. He meets him in the rising sun, in the flowing of the stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of his own soul. Kathy was that presence of eternity, that presence of friendship, that presence of family, that presence of community, that presence of connectivity, that presence of oneness and love and of light. And that's what we are here to celebrate today.
I'm glad to be a flower on God's tree, open to the sun, part of everyone. Healing is feeling the rain simply fall. Seeing and being it all. I like to show you a place to go. Not very far, only where you are. Nothing to bring, a few things to leave behind. Room for some new dreams to find you. You and me, flowers on God's tree, on quiet afternoons, by soft light of the moon, the kindest blows, the gracious sky above. See and be love.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carol Norwood. I thought that Reverend Eunice was going to be here and make some comments beforehand, so I'll fill you in. Kathy was born on October the 22nd, 1944 in Montana. Her brother probably couldn't explain why they were there at that time. And she passed away on September 27th last year. She's survived by her brother Jack Galtney and his wife Adma, his son and daughter-in-law Derek and Cody, her sister Kelly Bullard and her sons Royce and Riley, as well as her stepdaughter Alice Fagerland and stepmother Gloria Galtney, as well as a variety of cousins. I met Kathy in 1975 when I returned home from 18 months in Honolulu. I took a job at a consulting firm in San Francisco where she was the secretary to the CFO. I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to work with Kathy. She could be very bossy. I always said when she tries to teach me how to sharpen a pencil, I was going to object. I think within the year she left the firm to go to work for Jack, who had recently bought a printing company. It turns out her replacement was dating my ex-boyfriend who I'd left in Hawaii. The world is very small. When I first met Kathy, she was taking golf lessons, as her husband Jack was an avid player. She convinced me to join her taking lessons. Neither of us are very natural athletes, so we took lesson after lesson over the years. We kept many local golf pros employed. Jack, Kathy, and I spent many weekends playing golf, having lunch, playing dice, and then going to the movie in the evening. I'm not exactly sure of the year that Kathy returned to San Francisco State to finish her undergraduate degree. She was a very diligent student, graduating summa cum laude. Then she went on to study at the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology. When you become a therapist, you have to complete paperwork for your state license. All those years as a secretary served her well as she helped many of her classmates complete the necessary paperwork to get their license. While at ITP, she met her friend Jackie, who unfortunately passed away last year. Just so happens that Jackie's family and friends are having a celebration of her life today, and their friends said that Kathy and Jackie are celebrating together in heaven. Kathy loved her clients, and I believe they loved her. Therapy was her true calling, which I am sure she wished she had found earlier in her life. I believe she had some clients for 20 to 30 years. She continued working well past the normal requirement age because she found great joy and fulfillment in her work. She constantly worked on her personal growth with meditation retreats and her work at the Center for Spiritual Living. She rose to the level of practitioner, again, sharing her spirituality in her caring heart. I found this box in her bookshelf at her house. Inside of it was a letter that her friend Jackie had written her, which I believe she gave her the box to. Dear Kathy, I have loved and cherished you for so many years. Our time together at ITP, our internship, and our early years of practice. Thank you for dragging me to this group and not allowing me to quit. I'm grateful for getting to share your office and your wisdom. You have a large heart and helped so many people, me included. I love you dearly, Jackie. As you noticed outside, we brought a few of items from Kathy's home and her office that Kelly and I would like to share with any of you that would like to take a souvenir home with you to remind you of Kathy from this day forward. The three of us, meaning Jack, Kathy, and I, talked about retiring together to the desert. However, I met my husband in 1993, and that changed my plans. Once Jack and Kathy moved to the desert, and she would still come to Northern California to see clients twice a month, she would stay at our home. Her clients always remembered me as the cantaloupe lady, as I always sent her to work with a bag of cut-up cantaloupe. I learned recently that her dear friend Elizabeth Kelly made a donation in Kathy's name to the 2022 Honor Wall for the Cancer Foundation of New Mexico. Her comments with her picture are, Kathy was a loving, devoted sister and aunt, and a loyal and loving friend. Kathy's insight, intelligence, and compassion made her an extraordinary therapist. In 2016, I did fulfill my desire to retire in the desert near Kathy. She and I would go to the movies, I think in her case more for the popcorn, get pedicures, walk in the pool as many days as we could, and have season tickets for a local theater company. Our friend Steve Anna can tell you about going to the opera in the park with Jack and Kathy. And after Jack passed, Steve Anna invited Kathy to go to the opera in the park because she had some tickets. Kathy told her she hated opera and classical music. Obviously, that was only to please Jack. Kathy and I had several occasions while walking in the pool about not wanting to be in an old folks' home. Neither of us had children, and we didn't want to be an imposition on our family, so we figured we'd end up in the old folks' home. This, of course, was assuming we still had our wits about us, but our bodies had other plans. So Kathy developed the Godiva Plan. Being diabetic and a lover of chocolate, she wanted me to bring her huge amounts of Godiva and C's, so she would just gorge herself and fade away peacefully. Alas, she faded away peacefully, but didn't get to have any of that chocolate. I will forever miss my dear and special friend. Okay, Michael, it's your fault. I got free therapy for close to 40 years. I cannot count the occasions since she passed that I wished I could talk to her to help me decide how to handle something or help me understand my feelings. I love you, Kathy.
Good afternoon. My name is Tommy Jones, and I am a practitioner. And it's all of your faults, if tears come. I get to introduce a piece that is really, really Kathy. Michael talked about family, and 10 years ago, Kathy had this idea that she would bring a class or a book study to the church, and it was called From Myth to Mysticism. And she planned for it to be about 8 weeks long. Over 8 years, nearly 9 years later, these same people were getting together. In that book study time, we went through books like from Stephen Walensky to Adyashanti to Locke Kelly, and Carolyn Meese is one. And Barth did a reading that talked about something similar to a book we read, and it had to do with the mansions. It was John 14, and it dovetailed with the Carolyn Meese book about having rooms inside. I get to tell you about the Friday family. It wasn't originally the Friday family. It was actually the Thursday people, and then we couldn't meet on Thursday, so it moved to Friday. It was a group of people that got together that had no reason to be together. We were not in common in any way. We had Michael, we had me, we had Barth, Kathleen, and I have to say, unfortunately, I just heard a disconnection. So Kathleen, who is not able to be here, unfortunately, my phone has just disconnected. Kathy would bring Kathleen to the Friday night services or our reading week after week, because that was the only way she would be able to get here. There was a ritual we did, and if you see that we have an altar, she set up an altar, and on the altar was something very important to her. She had the crystals, she had the bowl, she had some archetype figures that I didn't bring, and she had the talking stick. So the family kindly let me have this. And so I have the talking stick, and I get to explain it to you. On Friday night, this talking stick was about check-in. When you would come, you came and you told how you were in that moment. And however you arrived, it was okay, because in this group of people, this group that became a family, it was the safest place. It was the place where you might be spiritually fed, whereas otherwise you wouldn't be. So now we have the opportunity to have folks come up and share your experience, your time with Kathy. When you come up, you get to take the talking stick. That means that it's your turn to talk, because she's very serious. There's no cross-talking. She perpetrated, is that what you said? She facilitated our meetings, and she was very organized in how she did that. And it was kind of, I think, along with her practice, because she worked with clients, and so she brought a little bit of that to our Fridays together. So I'm going to ask that people come up and that they share a little bit about their experience with Kathy. Before I turn over the talking stick, what I will tell you is there are people that are watching, and they will also be given the opportunity to speak. So when you are done, I would like you to say, "I lovingly pass," and that way we know that the next person needs to speak. I also want to share with you, my mother couldn't be here and she cannot be on to speak, but she asked me to say this. Kathy, thank you for all the love and support you gave to me and Tommy. You were such a blessing when we needed you most. Your loving spirit continues to surround us. I love you and miss you, Dean. That being said, can I pass the talking stick? Would you like to go first, or? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Tommy. Kathy was my sister. I'm Kelly. I'm her little sister. And she was 15 years old when I was born. And our mother found out that she had a tumor of some sort upon my birth. So she had to stay in the hospital. I might have things wrong, but she was the family historian. There's no one here to tell me it's wrong. So, my mother stayed in the hospital. I came home to my father, who went right to work, and Kathy and my brother Jack. And she has taken care of me my whole life. From that moment on, she was my prima. She was the one who knew me better. She was my sister, but also a little bit my mother, and a lot my best friend. And when she moved out, I was, 5 or something, probably younger, 3. She had apartments throughout the South Bay, throughout the South Bay beaches. And there was nothing funner growing up to go to my sister's house on the weekends. We had fun, right, Denise and Jean? She showed me a good time in my whole entire, from the time I was in elementary all the way. She would do things with me. My parents were tired. They were older parents, so, anyway. I just wanted to say that she took care of me my whole life, and I am so appreciative. I love her so much, and I didn't feel like she could love anyone more than she loved me until I had my children. And of course, it's not the same kind of love that you would have with your husband, but she loved these boys more than anything. And she never had her own children for her own, but she was the best auntie. And when Royce was 3 when Riley was born, and when he was when I was pregnant, she was saying to me, I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't think I can ever love another child as much as I love Royce. And I did not entertain that. I just said, well, it'll be fine. And then Riley ended up coming 15 weeks early. He had sepsis upon birth. He was, 2 pounds, 1 ounce. He was 99 days in the hospital. He had multiple operations. And finally, when the dust cleared, we bring him home, and we have this wonderful baby that, still pretty precarious. She said to me, well, he found a way, didn't he? And he just, they are more different. I mean, they're so different, night and day, these two. And she loved them with all her being. And they're not going to come up and speak, so I wanted to speak to that and say how I loved her so much, not only for what she did for me, but what kind of woman she was for my sons. What do I say? I lovingly pass. Oh, and okay, I'm not quite finished there. I'm so sorry. I have one sister. Yes. Right. I got the mic and I'm not giving it up. Yesterday, before I drove out here, I found 3 self-portraits of her, and I wanted to share them really quickly with you. This first one here, if you knew Kathy, you'd probably find some similarities there. On the back, just this morning, I noticed that there were titles on. I didn't even, I haven't seen these. This one says Spiritual Redwood Tree Lady. But we know it's Kathy because look at the hair. So you might just see something that you knew of her in that picture. And then this next one, very similar also. And in the back today, I found this statement that says, Statement of Being, God is all. That which I am is God. I am substance, I am truth, I am mind, I am health, and I am love. And maybe you can see something of that. And then this is the one that gets to me. Because on the back it says sister. I lovingly pass.
Thank you for sharing, Kelly.
Thank you. Listen.
My name's Derek, and I'm our oldest and first nephew, if there's any question. This talking stick is kind of funny. For the Friday night group and the Friday family, thank you so much for sharing. That's one of the reasons I came, because by the time she retired, I'm in my 30s, I have a family. I didn't make it down as much, especially after Jack passed away, and I lost my, in theory, golf partner, because he would get up at 6 in the morning, because you have to here in the summer to golf, and we'd golf 2 to 3 rounds a day. But then we would go to the movies, and for those of you who knew Kathy, it was all about the popcorn. It didn't matter. But you'd go to our family dinners, and especially Kelly and I knew that if Kathy wanted to talk, Kathy got to talk. My first recollection of my aunt is basically late 70s, 78, 79 in San Francisco. And as you know, Kathy never had her own children. But that never stopped Kathy from being motherly. If anybody without their own kids was any more motherly than Kathy, I would like to know. Because she would wrap her love and her spirit around you, and you would feel that warmth. You could not feel that warmth. I was introduced into meditation and spirituality at 6 years old. If we were meditating, that's what we were doing. It wasn't a choice. I remember we used to walk, because at that time, Jack and Kathy didn't have very much money. And still San Francisco, doesn't matter when was it, cost a lot of money to live. And we would walk. And we would walk to Clement Street and get food out of the dim sum places. For those who shared dim sum and got to go to Clement with Kathy, fond memories. 20 years later, I was at EMT in San Francisco. Same dim sum place was still there. Would go, fond memories. But we're walking through, or we're at the grocery store, and Kathy was telling me about how she's going back to school, and she was at San Francisco State, so she had a long way to go. And of course, I'm 6, 7-year-old kid, and we're going through the thing, and I'm like, so you're going to become a psychologist, right? And make all that money. Well, that, of course, Kathy, that's not what she was doing it for. You know, obviously you got bills, but that's not. And I'm like, so Auntie, when you're making $100 an hour, will you buy me a car? And of course, typical Auntie, oh, sure, honey, no problem whatsoever. It doesn't have anything to do with the money. It's just that Kathy instilled in you as her friend, as her family member, that if you put your mind to it, anything was possible. And if you knew Kathy was putting her mind to something, it was gonna happen. It was irrevocable. And I just want to share that my mom passed away in 2009, yet I was not left motherless. I had such an aunt and such a mother that it is honestly my honor, and I'm grateful to get to share my auntie and the love that she shared and gave to me to my 2 cousins. And I'm glad I'm not the only one that she got to share that love with and motherly affection with. And don't get me wrong though, if Kathy saw that you weren't living up to your potential and you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing, let alone doing something that was causing harm to yourself or other, she was also there to let you know what you needed to be doing, but to help you get on the right track. For those that are missing her, don't stop talking to her. You know she's listening. And if you listen and you sit quietly, she might even talk back to you, or you might even hear her. I love you, Auntie. Whoever would like to have the walking stick or walking, yeah. Thank you. Jean, perfect.
I think Kathy is telling me to put the stick down, Jean. Put the stick down. She's also saying, dear Lord, why did I die before she died? I'm a much better public speaker than she is. I would have done a better job. And I don't know what she's going to say next. If she spills the beans, there's trouble. So I'm not going to put the stick down. I had a completely different experience with my friend Kathy. I was there with her practically every season of her life, except infancy. I vividly remember the first time I saw Kathy and Jack. I was 9 years old. We had just moved to Torrance. I was at North Torrance Elementary School in Miss Shaw's 4th grade class. I looked out the window, and there were some kids walking by. And it was Jack bouncing a red foursquare ball, and Kathy looking up at him. And I said, those kids are almost as tall as I am. Everyone used to pick on me for being so tall. I'm not anymore, but we became friends. We were preteens together. In grammar school, we were in Mrs. Steele's Glee Club. Mrs. Steele asked us very nicely if we would just move our lips and not sing. She would give us an A. It was an easy A. She actually followed us to high school and we got an A. It really helped our grade point average through high school. Then we were teenagers. We kissed boys. We got in trouble. She was, dominating the speech class. Mr. Rush took her around the state and she won every competition. We were both editors of the high school newspaper, the North Wind, me in my senior year, Kathy the next year. We graduated from high school, did not go to college, made some mistakes, had some fun. We were roommates. She helped me with my daughter. Then we got a job at the same place, working for the same man as secretaries, Continental Graphics. And that's where she met her husband, Jack Duguid. They married, moved to San Francisco. She became his right-hand person at his company, but decided to go to college. She went to San Francisco State, graduated first in her class, and as everyone knows, then went on to get her graduate degree, became a therapist. And the last time I was with her when she was conscious, she said to me, "Jean, I know my life has had meaning. I know that I have made a difference in this world." And she said, "I know I've made a difference with my patients." And Kathy, it wasn't only with your patients, it was with your family, your friends, and countless people we never knew. And then a few days later, we were on the telephone, and she knew her time had arrived, really. And she said to me, "Please, Jean, tell my family how much I love them. Tell Kelly Dawn, tell Royce, tell Riley, tell Derek Wade, tell Jack, tell Denise." How much? She didn't say me, but she wanted you guys to know how much she loved you. And Kathy, I just want you to know, in the last few months of your life, you showed all of us what bravery and integrity and strength was. I can't think of another person on this planet who could have been more brave than you. We love you. And I am taking the stick with me, but lovingly passing to someone else.
I'm sorry, I had to wait for a moment. My foot went to sleep, and my leg is not quite cooperating very well now. I'm the older brother. I'm Jack. Kathy married Jack, so I quickly became Bro. And my only nephews, they call me Bro. I'm Uncle Bro, which is wonderful for me. But I've heard some wonderful things about Kathy and how she felt, but I want you to make no mistake, she loved me the most. There's no doubt. My first memory, we were 18 months apart, and I was much more wild and antagonistic as a kid, and maybe throughout, maybe I still am, I don't know. The first memory I ever remember was with my little sister, Kathy. And I did things with Kathy that I guess a big brother does, but I look back on him and I realize I probably shouldn't have done that way. I remember one of the first things I ever remember was my parents, for Christmas, I was 3 years old, maybe about to be 4. And they had told me that they were going to buy me a bicycle, a tricycle, but it was going to be able to convert to a bicycle. That it was, because I had already started riding a two-wheel bicycle when I was 3. I wasn't old enough or big enough to ride it properly. I had to stick my feet between the, anyway, that's another story. But I didn't really want a tricycle. That wasn't what I wanted. But for Christmas, I got a tricycle. I tried to take it apart at first, and then my folks finally woke up and they said, "Oh, Jack, we didn't get you that kind. We got to put the bike back. You may have ruined it." And I may have. But the story I wanted to tell you about was that Grandma lived on the same street that we did, about, I don't know, a couple blocks away, but it was on the same street. You didn't have to go far. I would get up in the morning before the rest of the family did. My little sister got up with me because she was in the same room. We'd get on the bicycle, and I'd be the rider, of course. I'm the driver. She would be on the back, holding onto my neck, and we'd pedal to Grandma's. And the part I remember so vividly was I just loved to go real fast because she'd start screaming, "Oh, slow down, slow down." And, "Oh, no, we're going, we're really going." And then we'd get to Grandma's, and Grandma would say, "Oh, what are you guys doing here again? You know you're not supposed to leave home. Your mom and dad don't know you're here." And they didn't. But that was my memory. And I had one other memory about it. I've really appreciated listening to you guys talk about my sister. I learned things I never knew about her. I mean, I knew she was a wonderful person. I knew that she was as caring a person as I've ever known. And I knew that she had many things in her life that didn't go the way that she wanted, and she tried to make the best of them. And I think I really helped her for that thing. I'll tell you a story a little bit about me. Of course, Kathy is involved in it. I was telling Reverend Charles earlier that I don't have a very good memory. Well, now that my sister is gone, I have even less, because as my other sister said, she was the memory of the family. Sometimes she would tell you about the way things were as if it was just absolutely fact, and you might have a little bit of doubt that her interpretation was the same as you remembered. But she was always there for me, never. When I was 12 years old, I decided that I didn't want to go to church anymore. But Mom had already told us that we had to go to church until we were 16. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. My father didn't go to church. That's a whole different story. And my mother decided that she couldn't continue to go to church because that was kind of sacrilegious if her husband didn't go. But her kids still had to go. Kathy was very much involved in it. She was much more spiritual than I. She took to church in a different way than I. And I'll tell you one of the ways that I took to church was that often when my mom finally decided that she wasn't going to church anymore, but her kids were, we'd get up on Sunday morning and she'd drive us to church and drop us off, and we had Bible school, then you had church after that, and it was a little over 2 hours. And we'd see Mom goodbye, and she'd turn the corner. Kathy would walk into the church, and I would take the collection money that they had given Mom, and I headed towards the pool hall. I didn't always make it to the pool hall because it was a ways away, and I had to hitchhike to the pool hall. And then I had to get back. And then I would meet, I'd get back from the pool hall and meet, and I had to do it quickly because it only had 2 hours. But I'd meet in the back of the vestibule just before church was out, and as church was coming out, I would ask Kathy, what did we do in church today? What happened? What happened in Bible school, and what did the preacher talk about? And she'd give me a quick summation about something. Then we'd go outside. Mom would normally be waiting. We'd get in the car, and my mom would always ask, how was church? I was the one that told her how church was. Kathy never ratted me out. That's why I know she loved me the most. And I'm thankful for this time that I get to think about Kathy and relive some of the stories that I've heard you guys talk about. And I'm just happy to think about her again, and I'm so happy that she was my sister. And thank you for caring for her also. If anyone wants the loving stick, it's here. Thank you.
So I'm picking up the talking stick, walking stick, loving stick. It's everything you want it to be right now. I'm picking it up because if there isn't anyone else in the audience that wants to come forth, we do have some people that are online and want to give them an opportunity to speak. So anyone else want to come up now? Alrighty. Jeff?
How do we let you know that we would like to speak? I don't know. Can anyone hear me? I don't know how to hear on the air, but I don't know how to do it.
We can hear you.
You can hear, but I can't. Is that
Okay. I don't think, is my mic?
that turns it down.
Elizabeth, can you
Probably
hear
turn
me?
it down.
If you can,
just said
you can
Elizabeth?
talk because we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Mike, should I go ahead? Yeah. Okay, my current name is Elizabeth Kelly, but Kathy knew me as Betty Jo, and probably most people there today know me as Betty Jo or BJ. Kathy has been a loyal and loving friend for 65 years, as has Jean, I might add. Jean isn't going to like that because we weren't babies when we met. So we might be older than 65. I have a lot of stories, too many for now, but you might grab Jean and get her to tell you some of them, like the time that I took Kathy and Jean up into the Jemez Mountains in New Mexico to the hot springs. It's kind of a classic Kathy story, and probably classic for Jean and me as well. Kathy's strength, her clarity, her devotion to her work, to her practice, to her friends, and to her family have always impressed me. But as Jean said, the strength and clarity, the bravery that she showed during this last incredibly challenging chapter in her life has left me totally in awe of her, more so than ever. She told me that she was willing to endure the limitations of paralysis if she could still help others. But she was unwilling to endure pain that made it impossible for her to function the way that she wanted to function. Those of you who know me know that I'm a mathematician. And I love this quote from one of the most prominent mathematicians of our times. This is something he said near the end of his very long life. What really matters is if you can look back on your life and ask yourself if you've done something reasonably in accord with your capabilities and talents. And when you ask yourself that, you're able to answer yes. Well, Kathy can certainly answer yes without any reservations. Kathy's insight, her intelligence, her amazing intelligence and compassion made her an extraordinary therapist. And she could not only answer yes for herself, but she could add that she helped many others, as we heard from Michael, to be able to answer yes. I'm blessed because after 65 years of friendship, Kathy's a part of me, and there's no taking that away. As Michael said, I'm a small part of Kathy's continuity. So I'm done, and what is it, lovingly willing to pass the talking stick to someone else.
Do you want to do Dr. Maxine then? Yes.
Hello, this is Maxine Kay from the Greater Philadelphia Center for Spiritual Living in Paoli, Pennsylvania. How I wish I could be with you today to celebrate our beloved Kathy. I do want to at least be present in this way and share with you. Thinking of a Joel Goldsmith quote. Your prayer will not be an asking or a seeking for anything. It will be an asking and a seeking and a knocking for more light, greater spiritual wisdom, greater discernment. Well, this is exactly what Kathy taught to her fortunate students. This is exactly what Kathy embodied and lived and modeled to all of us. Her classes were deeply spiritual, delightfully mystical, and wholly divine. I'm so grateful that I encouraged her to continue teaching. These classes were phenomenal. She changed people's lives by sharing such beautiful truth with them. I know that her therapy sessions were a blessing to all that she served. Her clarity, her patience, her centeredness, her true vision created an atmosphere, beautiful environment of love and acceptance, wisdom, and infinite possibility. Oh, her friendship was stellar. And those who called her friend benefited by her caring, her serenity, her loyalty. Well, Kathy knew about grief and loss. She certainly had missed her dear husband, Jack, for many years. And I'm sure still she felt his presence with her. This no doubt deepened her compassion for those she counseled. Oh, Kathy lived from her authentic self. From Ernest Holmes. It is human to grieve over the loss of our dear ones. We love them and cannot help missing them. But a true realization of the immortality and continuity of the individual soul will rob our grief of hopelessness. We shall realize that they are in God's keeping and they are safe. We shall know that loving friends have met them and that their life still flows on with the currents of eternity. We shall feel that we have not lost them, they've only gone before. So we shall view eternity from the highest standpoint as a continuity of time, forever and ever expanding until time, as we now experience it, shall be no more. Realizing this, we shall see in everyone a budding genius, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, an eternal destiny. It is with the deepest admiration, the highest respect, and the greatest, most loving appreciation that I celebrate not only a life well lived, not only a beautiful spiritual legacy, but the wonderful ongoing of a beautiful soul, a modern-day bodhisattva. Bon voyage, beloved Kathy. Thank you for your many gifts. I love you.
Am I on right now? Yeah. I'm telling you. Yes. Can we do that one? And then I'm going to try to do this one, and then I'm going to have to wrap up.
Okay, sounds good. Hang on just a second.
Can I put it up?
Yeah.
Or what? Okay.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I'm on the phone.
So if you're on the phone, can you see that? No. She's right there. So You heard us speak about the Friday family and some of the original members, and I mentioned Kathleen, and unfortunately she was disconnected from my phone, but she is able to speak on another phone. So I'm going to lovingly pass to Kathleen.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a deep honor to be part of this ceremony, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be with you. And I wish you all much peace and many blessings. And Kathy, you too. And I want to thank you all and Kathy for the love that you've shown me. The only word that I didn't hear today is intimacy. And that's the only thing I'd like to say is that the feeling of intimacy that we developed with the Friday night family was so beautiful, so safe, and so sacred. And she loved you in a way that you've never been loved before. At least that was my experience with Kathy. I got to know her really well because I had the honor of cleaning her house for her, and we got really close. And she always took me to services because I didn't have a car, and so we got to be really close friends. She was my mentor, my teacher, my confidant, my best friend. She loved me in a way and to a depth that I hadn't experienced before. And for that, I'll be eternally grateful. And I'm grateful to all of you for the love that I share with this group. And I lovingly pass.
Dawn, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, I think you're muted though.
Hi. Wow, I didn't know I was speaking. I'm speaking now, right? To everybody. Okay. I didn't intend to speak to everybody. I was going to listen. But here I am. I'm going to cry. I was one of those clients for 30 years. 30 years. I just feel so grateful that she was loved by so many, because I was so well loved by her for 30 years. And I came from a very chaotic and disruptive early childhood. So I'm hearing a lot of feedback, so it's a little distracting for me. But with Kathy, what she brought me was a benevolent, mothering presence, mentor, and opportunity to heal so much of that early life history for me. Being with a therapist for 30 years is pretty special. The relationship shifted and transformed over time. And yet, in that last year with her, I was able to do a piece of work with her that took 30 years to get to. And she was so incredibly beautiful with me. I'm so happy she is being celebrated today here, and it just fills my heart. And one last thing, I have also had a practice with clients, and Kathy's work with me in a way of being has rippled through me to my practice clients. So, she will continue to ripple. Thank you all.
So the ritual of the Friday family, it always started off with the talking stick. The one thing that I didn't mention at the beginning was that she would ring a gong bell to get us started, say a prayer, and then the talking stick. So many have had an opportunity to share their experiences and their love for Kathy. And so, in honor and out of respect for Kathy, I'm going to put down the talking stick and ring the bell one last time. Thank you.
I feel like I have to pick up the talking stick. We use this in a number of places. It's always a great instrument to use and pass around because I like the idea of no cross-talking. You can say what you want and then you're free and you're not being judged. I didn't have a personal relationship with Kathy, but I was on her practitioner panels. I was a minister, just a young minister at that time. And I don't remember it actually, and Tim had to remind me that I was there and moved her on to help each and every single one of you. And then most recently, when she and I were working with Reverend Michael, we had a lot of conversations indirectly through Michael. But what was really interesting was we came from the same place of love, compassion, understanding, and the need to know and love family, friends, acquaintances, and just the love of life. And just a few things that I know about Kathy and what I've heard today. I know that that love of life is what she wants each and every single one of you to know, that that's what she passes on to you. I love this poem from Henry Van Dyke, Gone from My Sight. I am standing upon the seashore, a ship at my side, spreads her white sails to the moving breeze, and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight. That is all. She is just as large in mast, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at that moment, when someone says, "There, she is gone," there are other eyes watching her coming and other voices ready to take up a glad shout. Here she comes. And that is dying. So in our final prayers that we say today, as we bear witness to all that Kathy Duguid did in our lives and what she continues to do even when she's not here through each and every single one of us. My prayer is that Kathy Duguid's family and friends will always remember her, love her, and allowing them to warm their hearts, illumine their souls, and guide them as they make their way together. We are all on this path, and no one walks alone. Through many we've loved have gone. We bless them and we wish them Godspeed as we are grateful to them for sharing their life with us. Where we are, God is, and all is well. Within us is the presence of peace, the essence of love. I pray that each will find it in them to share this love and be at the peace. Where Kathy Duguid is, God is, and all is well. And together we say, and so it is. The family has asked me to join them in a celebration of life with some refreshments over here. And till we meet again, namaste.